right, hello again and welcome to the Red Life Riot podcast. My name's Ben.
I'm Matt.
Hello, I'm Michael.
And we're back again for episode 2 of season 3 of the Red Life Riot podcast, where we're jumping straight in after talking about the Oscars of what we want
The Oscars of the future that haven't happened yet. We're trying to predict what may be nominated.
Sort of.
Which kind of leads us into what we're talking about now, today on this episode, which is what is happening right now in the film world, in the TV world, what's new, what's kind of going on, and what do we think about all of these crazy things.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you guys are more
involved than
more well informed than myself.
But in my mind, the thing that immediately jumps to my mind is Disney, because Disney at the moment and for the last year has basically been taking over. And everyone seems to be so okay with it.
It's incredible, right? It's fucking crazy. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. So at the moment, they probably own at least half of everything of value. You know, they took over Fox, 21st Century Fox, which is a giant film studio, and now they own it.
Yeah.
And so they own everything that they've ever produced and everything that's going forward.
They've got Hulu
coming out of them. They own the majority of Hulu.
Yeah.
After purchasing Fox, that became theirs. They own so much, and what's happening is they're bringing out their own streaming service soon. In November, which premieres basically worldwide. On like the 14th of November.
Unfortunately, is looking more and more appealing.
Yeah, so appealing
by the day.
How it's like $7 US a month.
Yeah.
You can get 4 people watching at the same time a 4K stream, which if you wanted to get that on Netflix, that's like $20 a month.
Yeah.
Or 16 in New Zealand or something.
Yeah.
It's like that's way more. It's way cheaper. Than the competitors, and it's because they don't have to pay licensing fees because they own everything. Yeah. And they own so much. They have a massive back catalogue of content and a massive lineup of new content that's going to keep getting made. And it's like the kind of thing where like I don't really love what Disney's doing in the world right now, but like that's too good of a deal.
It's an amazing deal.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about this fucking company is that they're taking over, but they're doing it so well. They're doing it so well because they've got Marvel, who make movies that are so positive, and so easy to like, so easy to sort of watch, as well.
Yeah, my opinion when the whole Fox thing happened, which was last year when it first came into kind of being, when it was people were talking about it happening. Basically there was basically one massive opinion stemming from all the Marvel fans, which is, oh my God, Disney can buy Fox and then we can have all the X-Men and the Fantastic Four back in the Marvel universe, which, sure, that's a really great thing, but that's all that people were seeing. And on the whole, the whole merger, the whole purchase was the fact that it had to happen is kind of overall a bad thing because now Disney owns so much more. However, in saying that, Disney was kind of the best option to purchase Fox because if they were going to sell, I'd have rather them go to Disney, who kind of know what they're doing with content, than go to someone like AT&T, which was kind of one of the other options who were looking to buy Fox. Who kind of is just a big giant corporation. I get so is Disney, but AT&T and any of those internet companies are all just like so awful, and I've never heard anything good about any of those American internet companies because they seem like they don't care about any customers. They just care about raking in as many dollars as they can for as little effort as they can. And I would have hated to see a massive movie studio in their hands. I don't think that would have gone as well. It is crazy though.
I mean, I think the other really important thing to consider is the fact that, wasn't it something like, I remember reading something like saying that 7 out of the top 10 films at the box office are Disney, or like Disney owned.
This year, at least, I think the top 5 are owned by... Oh, no, at least the top 4 right now are owned by Disney. 5, the 5th maybe being Spider-Man, which is not owned by Disney, but they at least...
But they have enough association with the company.
They have association with it, and they get all the merchandise from Spider-Man, so they have a stake in that film as well.
Which is just insane. Like,
and how many
and Star Wars and Frozen are yet to come out, and they're going to be huge ones as well.
And these movies have all made like $1 billion.
Exactly.
And every other movie has made almost nothing.
Except
for the Quentin. which even then didn't really make that much, did it? But it was a success, I guess. But yeah. So you're looking at a company who like literally now has the monopoly.
Yeah. Well, not literally a monopoly, but very, very close. They own the majority essentially of what people are going to be watching.
I'd be very interested to see what percentage of the market, of the general market that they have.
I had a look at
I wonder what percentage it is, because surely it's like, if I was to guess, I would say somewhere between 40 and 50.
Yeah,
does that sound about right?
I don't know.
So I've got a chart here,
like theatrical.
That was the box office from just the summer movies of this year. So that's from May through to August. Disney/Fox, because it's all the same, all going to the same place, made $4 billion just in the summer box office. The next highest grosser was Sony, with less than $2 billion. Yeah. So they literally had more than double of the second place.
Yeah.
And like if you look at the graph, it's just like they're shot like way up.
Yeah.
What's third? What's next?
Third is Universal, who are quite reasonably close behind Sony, then Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But like that income doesn't even include in-game.
No.
Which was another how many billion? $2.7 billion on top of that.
The highest grossing movie
of all time.
Yeah.
Plus Star Wars and Frozen 2, which come out end of this year.
Yeah.
By the end of the year, in terms of worldwide 2019 box office, it'll be...
Yeah.
It could be 70%. I don't know.
Yeah.
And now they are going to be taking over the streaming market too.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying because cinema has it's been... And it's amazing how quickly this happened too.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Because 3 or 4 years ago, people were like, what do you mean superhero movies and all this are taking over? Like, of course, like everyone still goes and watches movies. I still go and watch movies. No. Independent cinema has retreated almost completely into streaming.
Right.
And that's why Netflix are kind of doing well in their own niches because they're financing... They're giving Martin Scorsese $200 to make a movie. $200 bucks. $200 million to make a movie.
Yeah.
And now Disney's about to come in and be like, hey, well, why don't you guys come and subscribe to us and you can...
Literally never go to a movie theater again. Except for our big blockbuster releases, which you will go to.
Which you will go to, yeah.
But you won't have time to see anything else that matters in life. You won't have time...
I mean, I think with the whole Disney Plus situation as well, because I remember watching a video about that was talking about it. So Netflix for a while had the advantage of being the pioneers, right? Being the only guys at the table, yeah. And so for a while they had, they didn't have any original content, yeah. And it was just all licensing from everyone from like Disney to Warner Brothers to whoever, yeah. Because they had, so they're losing all their Disney content, right? They lost The Office. Yeah. They lost Friends. They lost.
They're losing everything owned by Warner Media as well because they're going to be doing their own streaming service as well. So,
So for a while they had,
which is going to plummet into the earth probably.
So for a while they had they had the advantage of being of having the monopoly of the fucking streaming service, right?
Yeah.
And so I know for a fact that I remember reading it, but I'm not sure if they're still going ahead with it. But I do remember reading something along the lines of Netflix were trying to go 100% original content by like 2020 something.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
See, that's what I read because, and that interests me, but then confused me because they kept on adding licensed content after I heard that headline. I was just like, is that really what's happening? Because like I see it as a possibility that they could do that. 10 years from now, they'd be only original because every other bloody company's going to have their own service anyway, so they're not going to be able to buy anything else. But like that just like chucks the nail in the coffin for a lot of subscribers who kind of are there for shows like The Office. And all that because Netflix just doesn't have enough.
Well, the other thing is, so with the original content, right? They do have. So the original content's interesting because their first show was House of Cards, which I haven't seen, but I've heard good things about.
Was wildly successful.
It was wildly
very successful,
right? Yeah. So they've had
a lot of successful shows and a lot of just pieces of crap,
which is like you could argue is like any other studio,
I guess so.
But So they had the original content thing, yeah?
Yeah.
And then they also had, and well, now their issue is, at least what the video is that I watched was trying to say, yeah? Well, this quarter, I believe, was the first report that they lost subscribers. They lost about 200k subscribers in the US.
Yeah.
So they have that, right?
Mm.
And yeah, like you mentioned, because of the fact that, you know, they've lost the Office, they've lost, you know, all these programs.
Yeah.
And so what we're getting basically is, what a lot of people are predicting is that we're going to have basically what happened with TV, with streaming services, yeah?
Yeah.
So like all these different options.
Yeah.
All these different options, and therefore it's going to come to a case where consumers are going to say, oh, I only have $20 to budget, right? For a certain thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which one am I going to pick?
Yeah. And we're looking at it as well. It's basically between studios.
Right.
It's not between streaming servers. Like, you can, like, by the time when Netflix does decide we're going to do all original content, that's not a streaming service.
Right.
That's a network.
Right.
That's a studio.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a completely different kind of thing. So the idea of like a streaming service where you can go and watch all your favorite stuff isn't really going to exist in the same way anymore.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
It's going to be a bunch of companies, and you're going to only be able to watch content owned and produced by that company.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're going to be paying this much for it.
Yeah.
So the idea of like a movie theater in your house, no, not anymore. This is because that's kind of what a streaming service would be. You've got things that have just been released by all these different people, and they're all in one place.
Right.
That's what Netflix wanted to be
at
the beginning. But now it's pretty much the equivalent of being like, okay, I'm going to go over to the Sony movie theater and watch this.
Yeah.
But if I want to, you know, etc.
And if you want to watch a Disney movie, you go to the Disney movie theater.
Yeah, you go to the Disney movie theater. Except this time you're paying for all of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's sort of what I was.
So you're going to be paying like $50 a month.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, a lot of people say, oh, it's just going the way of what cable TV was, where they have these bundles and packages and you pay heaps of money for each individual network, basically.
Yeah, I've heard all that.
And you get ads and all that. That's what everyone says, but it's still way cheaper than cable ever was.
And it's still backwards. It's not what people want.
Right.
People want all your favorite stuff in one place.
Well, that's the thing. The thing is that is unattainable, because then you'd have a similar situation to like Spotify and Apple Music, that kind of thing, where it'd be like everyone has access to everything, but then the services, like the difference between the services is so small that it kind of doesn't even matter what you're subscribed to.
Yes.
But so then the companies really don't have anything to compete for.
Yeah.
Like realistically.
Yeah.
Whereas I think when it's the network who owns it, and it's, you know, they're competing by producing content that people want, what I actually would say is a better way to compete, because then it's about the content. Yeah. It's not about what flash features you have, although that should be part of it as well.
Yeah.
In my opinion, in this whole thing, I think Netflix is going to be left in the dust.
Yeah.
They're going to be so far behind. Disney and Amazon, I see, are going to be the two leaders coming forward.
Yeah. Amazon's got it down.
Yeah, because Amazon's kind of been quietly creeping up in terms of the amount of content it's started producing and now taking over. And it's also doing something that Disney might be doing with ESPN. I'm not actually sure.
Yeah.
But Amazon's going to be doing sport as well.
Yeah.
So they're going to be bringing in a whole lot more that Netflix hasn't even touched the surface of, you know.
Yeah.
So the only thing with Amazon is that in terms of their user interface, it definitely needs updating. I'm sure they're probably working on that, but it's a little bit.
It's fine for now.
It works, but it definitely needs updating. Like at the moment, Netflix has the best user interface by far. But then looking at what Disney has shown us, that again is going to be miles better. So if Amazon can obviously step up their game in that level, then they'll be on an almost an even playing field, I'd say, with Disney. I think Disney kind of just has the bigger name and probably more content at the moment. But I think those two are going to be the strongest ones. And Netflix, I think Netflix just thought that they were the business and they were going to rule this town. Yeah. And they just didn't see this coming. I think they didn't see it coming, and they're going to be left in the dust. And I'm going to be happy to unsubscribe eventually.
I mean that's the thing, and we're sort of seeing it with the fact that they're losing subscribers. And so the thing that was saying, the thing that this video that I was watching was going back to this video again. That I was watching was Netflix need to do two things. Yeah, they need to get more subscribers in terms of every year increase the amount of subscribers that they have, right?
Yeah.
But in order to stay profitable, B.
They're not even a profitable company, are they?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
And then B, they need to increase their prices slowly over time.
Yeah.
Right? This is the thing.
For them.
This is the
if
thing.
They increase
it's a
their
lose.
prices by $1 more. While Disney's got their $7 thing.
Exactly.
No one's gonna.
That's the issue. That's the issue. They are Netflix are in a basically in a lose-lose situation.
I see it likely that they actually could reduce their prices, because if they get rid of all their licensed content, some situation with Disney, they don't have to pay as much for that, so they kind of doesn't cost them as much to run the service. Therefore, it could be cheaper. Or what they could do is offer a cheaper alternative that also has ads in between episodes or something like that. I could see that happening.
That's the issue. Is it's Netflix are definitely sort of being backed into a corner. They're being backed into a corner. They have their back against the wall, and it'll be interesting to see.
Isn't it sucky?
Isn't it
sucky how utopian this felt like 5 years ago?
Right. Yeah.
When Netflix was like, sort of getting as big.
It wasn't even in New Zealand 5 years ago. It was 4 years ago.
Yeah, but it was just like all of a sudden it was like, oh, what? You pay $10 a month and you can pretty much watch everything you want to watch, and and now it's just turned into another.
Basically, I read a really interesting thing, and it was saying that Disney is doing to Netflix what Netflix did to Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Which is so true.
Yeah. So where does that leave the movies?
In terms of seeing
movie theaters?
Obviously the big blockbusters are still going to be there. That's the only place you're going to be able to see them.
Yeah.
Until a few months down the line when they release it on Disney Plus or whatever.
Yeah.
I think I don't know what to think. I just really don't want theaters to die. I feel like in recent years, I feel like they've still been going strong.
Yeah.
And I feel like people are still going to see movies and seeing independent movies as well. I was really impressed with the attendance at the film festival.
They've broken their record again.
The New Zealand Film Festival.
They broke their attendance record again.
At least in Auckland they did.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is the biggest centre anyway.
Yeah.
So I think people still want to see smaller movies. So
But what about the visibility for these films?
Yeah.
Because that's a sort of argument as well.
The thing is, what the world is turning into, it's turning into everything that these old dystopian writers have said it's going to be, which is where you're going to sit in, I'm talking about like 1900s writers, not like teen novels.
Yeah.
But like, just to be clear what I mean when I say dystopian novels. So I'm not talking about bloody...
You're not talking about the Divergent series.
No, I'm talking about the Machine Stops. And
the Hunger Games.
And the Fahrenheit 4/5, whatever it is. All these ones. Where it's turning into a world where everyone's in their little room watching all the bloody content they want. They can get food. They've got a fridge right there. They've got Uber Eats to deliver it to them. They've got Skype. They can talk to people through Skype, which it was a thing that was in the Machine Stops. And then going out into the outside world to go and see somebody in person or see a thing is going to be a rarity. It's like,
and you think that's going to be the same with films?
Well, it's everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, it already is
pointing inwards towards us, and us being like so lazy and not needing to go out anymore.
Yeah.
So the majority of the things we're going to watch is going to be on Disney Plus and all that, because that's way easier than going to the theater to see Booksmart or whatever. I'd rather just watch The Mandalorian because it's right there on my TV screen at home.
Yeah.
So it's way easier.
So, and that's the problem.
Yeah. It's
like the film
problem.
festival, it's different because it's an event.
Right.
And it's like you hear about it way before, and you're like, oh fuck, the film festival,
right.
like it's a big deal. It's and you kind of dedicate those 2 weeks to doing this kind of thing. But throughout the year, I'm pretty sure very soon, with the way that like event cinemas will play the latest Avengers movie on every single screen in the fucking place for a week.
Yeah.
These kind of films aren't even going to really be around at the main cinemas anymore. I was looking on Flix about on Event.
Right.
and looking at the films that are coming soon in comparison with what's going to be coming out at the Rialto and stuff. And it's like half of these movies that I've been talking about or we've been talking about that aren't already being snapped up by streaming services anyway aren't going to be playing at event cinemas. You know, they're going to be playing at the Rialto for 2 weeks.
Which is why I recently in the last year, so I've been trying to go to the smaller theaters because I want to support the smaller theaters. Because the big theaters don't care; they just care about the money. They don't care about the cinema. You know. Which is why try and go to the smaller theaters and see these small films because they will play them, even if it's only for a couple of weeks, hopefully. But you'll get the chance to see it. But like you're saying, I've been to quite a few screenings in the last year where there's like 1 or 2 other people in the theater. Like, you're right, attendance is just hugely...
I mean, it's pretty much people go out to see the blockbusters,
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
Although, on the other side of that coin, I often go in the afternoon, and, like, it's just, like, a time that most people don't go to a theater anyway.
But you're a movie guy.
And there's also that,
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy because a few years ago, this was kind of deemed to be, like, oh, it's the doomsayers again, talking about how the movies are dying, you know, like... But now it's happened. Like, it's already kind of happened, and we're all just sitting here with egg on our face, like, fuck. Yep, the new Martin Scorsese movie's on Netflix, because no studio wanted to give him any money anymore, you know?
Right.
I mean, to be fair, he did, to clarify, he did choose Netflix because he already knew that this would be the case. And that he would be able to make what he wanted to make, which is probably why it's 3.5 hours.
True, interesting.
Yeah.
We live in interesting times.
What else?
Joker coming out. I don't know.
That was a long and very interesting conversation.
Very serious conversation. It's quite a serious podcast.
It is.
This time around,
Yeah.
Different vibe. It's cool.
I don't remember what we talked about last time you were here.
Bus shelters.
Oh, bus shelters.
We talked about your idiotic opinion about bus shelters.
I stand by that.
That was the best podcast ever.
I stand by that.
Yeah.
That was the one time where I could just sit back and just let Michael argue for me. It was brilliant.
Yeah, we did argue about bus shelters for a long time. I mean, like, and I think in terms of television,
well, it's all streaming.
Yeah, it's all streaming. It's going to be streaming. HBO
television doesn't exist.
Well, it does, but it's just
But in terms of like, no one cares, right?
Yeah, Game of Thrones is kind of the last vestige.
I mean,
that's the most torrented show on the planet, right? So
right.
I mean, one of the most like, what's the word I'm looking? Well, like, the biggest like things I got was when we were at South Seas last year. We, like, remember when I can't remember who, but someone asked like the entire group of the entire lecture theatre.
Yeah.
Who we were asked who watches TV, and like 2 hands went up.
Yeah.
That was like the biggest like that was like holy shit.
Yeah. Who watches Netflix? Every single hand goes up.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Like that was the biggest like.
It's kind of funny because like both of us work in broadcast television, so it's like, are we in a dying industry? Or is that industry going to just make its way online, you know?
Well, I think the funniest thing about this is while we're talking about all of this consumable media, the most popular website in which people watch things is actually YouTube.
Right.
And they're not watching TV or movies. Kids are watching YouTubers and their YouTube videos. So that's for another podcast. But, but you know, that's
I'm that guy.
I mean, that's probably
all the time.
There's probably a whole other podcast.
I mean, I think YouTube's a great thing. I think it's great that there's a place for people to do their own thing.
Yeah.
I just wish there was a competitor because YouTube's just such an ass about everything.
Yeah.
Because they literally are the only service there. We would hope that this conversation is even worth having, assuming that the planet's not going to destroy itself before this is even relevant.
Yes.
So
yeah, I think we'll see. We'll see
what happens to the planet.
We'll see the death of.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah, I feel
what I should say is it's likely to be a contender for Oscars, but it's a film that I saw at the New Zealand Film Festival, which is a documentary called 2040.
Yeah.
Which now that we've somehow gotten into the environmental.
Wait, is this the what are we watching? But
I don't. May as well be.
Yeah, may as well be.
This segment is called
What You Doing?
which is where we talk about what we've been doing, reading, or watching. Nice little forced segue in there.
Yeah.
And yeah, so one thing that me and Michael did is we were at the New Zealand International Film Festival. I saw 12 films plus the shorts, and Michael saw like 25. Jesus. Anyway, one of the ones I saw was called 2040. It's a doco about the environment and basically looking at technologies that exist today and how if we implemented those now, we've made these changes now, what would 2040 look like? And it's very, very optimistic kind of look on a better world. And one of the things that is kind of like the most, one of the things that I took away was one of the most valuable things you can do if you want to actually help and do anything. There's a huge initiative going on off the coast of Australia planting seaweed, which it's just this weird thing where we're planting these seaweed farms because seaweed is so fast growing and it basically sucks in carbon emissions, right? Yeah. And so it's one of the most beneficial things you can do to reduce the carbon emissions on the planet, which is especially important right now, especially considering how half the Amazon is burning, and that is a huge chunk of our carbon bank, essentially, where a lot of carbon is stored, which is now just burnt away. And now it's all being released.
So is that all releasing? I'm not a scientist. That's all releasing into the atmosphere now.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And it can't really come back when the trees aren't there. Yeah. So and that was also a huge supply of oxygen to the world. So one thing that is really good is I've forgotten the name of the website. I think they're called the Intrepid Foundation or something. There's a website if you just go to what'smy2040.com or .org or something. Yeah. Just look at, you'll find it. Yeah. There's a site we can go to. We can donate to help fund these farms. Which they've recently they've done their first round and they've got a huge successful amount. So from an environment point of view, that's something that I'd recommend you do if you care about this planet a little bit, because that's at least something that can help. In terms of what else I watched at the film festival,
I should probably figure that out.
Yeah, I because obviously it's been so long since we've done the podcast. I've made quite a short list, but at the film festival I also saw Under the Silver Lake, Nightingale, and Come to Daddy, which are three I thought were quite good films. Come to Daddy being a New Zealand directed one, although shot in Canada, starring Elijah Wood. Yeah. Which was phenomenally enjoyable.
It was ridiculous, but it was very entertaining.
Ridiculously fun. Yeah. Very entertaining film that I recommend everyone watches as soon as it's available. Wherever the heck it's going to be available. I don't know what the plan is with that one. Under the Silver Lake is one that Michael had already seen. But that one that's another just mind-blowing kind of just screws the head a bit. Definitely something that I wouldn't expect to appear at the Oscars because of the whole subject matter is talking about how screwed up Hollywood is, essentially. Yeah, yeah. And then Nightingale, which is a Irish film, right?
No, it's Australian.
Oh, sorry, Australian. Yeah. Australian, but because the main character's Irish, because it's about back in the old day when the Irish folk were living down in Australia. Yeah. That's a really, really brutal, real feeling film. Which is, I think, really well made. Also, I actually went back and listened to the last podcast and had a listen to what I said I wanted to watch. And those things were Rocket Man, which I did see. And enjoyed. I thought it was good, but also I realized that I just don't like musicals very much, and that was just kind of reminded me, I would probably really enjoy this if I enjoyed musicals, but I see how much talent's in it, but I kind of just didn't enjoy it that much, I guess, or as much as I could have, I guess. I also said I wanted to go see Endgame again in IMAX, which I did do, and I was in the top row, and I was still looking upwards because the IMAX theater at Queen Street in Auckland I've officially deemed not worth your money or time. Initially I was a big proponent for it when I first saw Avengers Infinity War, because that movie at least was worth seeing, I think, in IMAX. I saw it 4 rows down, but it was still very, very immersive. But with Endgame, the way Endgame was shot wasn't nearly as immersive as Infinity War was, and being in that theater where you're still looking upwards even a little bit towards the center of the screens, it's quite frustrating. It's not how IMAX is really meant to be. So I'd love to see an IMAX film in a proper, well-built IMAX theater overseas somewhere. Yeah. I also said I wanted to see Booksmart, which I saw, and
I still need to see that.
It was kind of fine, I guess. There were things to enjoy, but maybe it's just not my kind of movie. I didn't really go for it that much. And I also said that I started watching The Dark Tourist, which I have then finished, very thoroughly enjoyed, and I also watched Tickled, which is the documentary made by David Farrier, which was insanely amazing, so tense and ridiculous.
What a great film,
but awesome. Yeah.
What a crazy movie. Have you seen?
I haven't seen it because we were supposed to.
That's right.
Is this a situation where you've?
It was one of the movies we were going.
Netflix affair.
I see. You ditched Matt and you watched the movie on your own.
Yeah, because we were going to do it for piss take.
Yeah.
But then
Nice.
I decided to see it for other reasons because
That's
off
fine.
pod I'll tell you why.
It's fine.
I figured that I should see it.
I'm not mad.
Yeah.
It's all good. All good. Don't worry, bro.
Yeah. There's plenty of other movies.
Yeah.
And then also, I think it must have been really recently after we recorded the last podcast because I'm surprised I actually hadn't talked about it, but I'm pretty sure I haven't talked about it. But 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh yeah, I got him to watch it.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah,
it
I did.
instantly became one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
You've seen it, haven't you?
I've seen it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
My goodness, like what the heck?
Well, yeah.
This was like
so it was made in the 1960s.
1960s.
Yeah,
And
1968.
it looks like it was made
It's got better
10 years
special
ago.
effects than anything
Yeah.
I've seen.
Yeah. It's just like the best looking space film there is.
Yeah.
It's so well directed and well shot and just like everything. How does it? It doesn't compute to me how fantastic it is.
Well, how a movie can sustain being so good for so long.
Yeah.
As well.
And it's crazy. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And then also Parasite, which I talked about, and Weathering with You, which I also talked about. Great little foreign films as well.
I would not call Parasite a little foreign film. Thank you very much.
Is it not a little? I mean,
it's not a little movie. I mean, it's
a little movie with big appeal, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, so is Weathering with You even.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I don't know. Kind of. Maybe Parasite to me feels like an event, you know, like it feels like you watch it and you fucking
exactly. But
you will never forget that film.
No,
once you've seen it, I will say, watch Parasite. It's playing at Academy Cinemas in town.
Still playing?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh wow! I don't know.
Really?
It should be on $5 Wednesdays soon.
Oh okay.
Yeah. Please watch it.
Sweet as.
Take
and
one
then
thing from this podcast.
And then a couple of things what I'm looking forward to is that John Mayer released a new song which I haven't listened to yet for some
John Mayer released
for
a new
some
song.
reason I haven't listened to it and I don't know why. I just haven't bothered. But I'm sure I will. I'm
playing
sure
some guitar.
I'm sure I will love it.
John Mayer.
John Mayer, right? Yeah. And then also on Tuesday morning, I think, Apple's holding its new keynote, where it will be announcing new iPhones and Apple Watches and all the good stuff. So I probably won't watch live because I need to get up for work in that morning. So, but I'm kind of I'm intrigued because they're at kind of the stage in terms of iPhones where I don't know. I've not been following as much news as I used to, so I don't exactly know what they're doing. But they're kind of at the stage where it's like if you're making another phone which is basically the last phone plus a tiny little extra bit, which is kind of what it often has been. But I kind of every second they usually do a bigger one, right? Where it's slightly more interesting. And so I'm kind of interested in here. And it's a big year, in my opinion, because there's the whole controversy. Well, it's not even really a controversy against most people, but to me it's a big issue. Where rumor has it they're going to be ditching 3D touch, which most people don't really know even what that is, which is the reason that they're ditching it. But to me was such an underused feature of iPhone 6 since the iPhone 6s, which basically added an extra layer of depth to touch and what you could do on your phone, but it was never implemented well by Apple themselves, never well advertised by Apple, never well implemented by very many developers either, which is really sad to me. And so this is kind of going to be a big release where it's going to be a tipping point for me personally at deciding at the point where I'll be like, is this a phone that I'm ever going to buy? Because like I'm on the 7 at the moment, and I'm kind of the idea where like every 4 or 5 years maybe you can upgrade your phone. And I would usually just go for the latest thing. But am I actually going to be getting an older phone because I can't do it without 3D touch or whatever? So that's why I'm interested to hear what's going to happen. I'm also interested in the Apple Watch game because I'm interested in getting one eventually. Hopefully, within probably the next 6 months to a year, I would be getting one. I would hope. And so I want to know if it's worth getting the new fancy one or getting a cheaper older one. So that's why I'm gonna look out for that. And that's what I'm looking forward to, I guess. And then of course I had the list of all the films that are going for Oscars, which turned into our top 5 list. So there's all those which are going to be very much looking forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me. Okay, sure.
Switching things up.
So I went to the film festival as well, watched a bunch of great films there. Probably the best film I saw there was called Portrait of a Lady on Fire, which Ben saw as well, and I think respected quite a lot as well.
Yeah.
You know, it was another film to me that found extremely clever and very emotional ways to reincorporate things that it brought up earlier. So I won't spoil, but there's some really great discussion about not a poem. Was it a section of? Oh, I can't remember. A myth or something, or like a Greek myth. You know, the whole turnaround thing.
Oh, it was just a poem.
Yeah, it was a poem.
I think it was just a poem. Yeah.
Anyway, it's a film that fuses some really like interesting intellectual ideas with like an extremely emotional love story, and it's probably the second best thing I've seen all year behind Parasite so far. But the real meaty subject that I want to dedicate this segment to is talking about that brand new Quentin Tarantino film, because it's such an interesting fucking piece of work, and it's such a frustrating film to me, and I just find so many things about it to be worthy of talking about and worthy of discussion on like a wider level than just the movie, because it's the kind of movie that it's not just something that doesn't get made anymore. It's the kind of movie that almost never gets made at all, because you've got this director who has built up such a persona over such a long time, and now he's basically making a movie that is just everything he loves in one place. The movie has almost no structure at all. How much into spoilers are we allowed to go? Should we just provide a warning, or can we not talk about spoilers?
I'd say I would say tread very lightly, because it's still a film that not heaps of people have seen.
Okay.
So just like be vague.
Okay. What I will say is there are violent moments in this film. Extremely violent moments in this film.
Obviously, it's Quentin Tarantino.
It's a Tarantino film that play so strangely against the rest of the film,
right?
That it almost veers the whole thing off kilter into something completely different. Yeah. And I don't know if that's entirely successful. Right. And yeah, it's a film of basically his fetishes, his loves, and his obsessions with movies in general. And I found it to be a really frustrating experience, because every time it was almost great, Tarantino would kind of push it a bit too far and be like, you know, just indulge himself. Yeah. And it's the most wildly self-indulgent movie I've seen, but like you can't deny how great it is.
Right.
On you know, at a different level, even though I'm particularly frustrated by it and annoyed by it. Yeah. But yeah. And I think it's probably the most of his films that or the one of his films that most calls to discussion about representation of violence on screen as well. Yeah. Yeah, fair point. Maybe it's just something to do with the times that we're living in now. But
right. Yeah, my thought on that film was kind of like, I really enjoyed a lot of it, and I thought it was real well made. Kind of up to the, I guess, midway point where it kind of trails off into its own, into a bit of a separate thing, where it kind of just, it like you say, the structure's just like almost doesn't exist basically, and that's kind of what bothered me the most personally about that film. Yeah. But there was still a lot to really enjoy. Like there was so much that I really enjoyed in the film that it's kind of like hard to say that I didn't like it. Yeah, I did. I loved.
Yeah, because I remember reading your review, and I was like, because one of the things that you mentioned was that you thought, and just picking back what you just said, basically of it feeling like two different films.
Yeah,
sort of
100% it did.
Together.
Right? Yeah,
like it was for like that first half of the film, right? Before essentially, well, maybe even more than half. For a while, I was like, this doesn't feel like a Tarantino film, like sort of vibes that I got at least. Yeah. And then when it turned violent, then I was like, oh, okay. Right. You know, I was like, oh, this is Tarantino. Yeah. I feel like had it not been, I feel like because it's Tarantino, he gets away with it.
Almost, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, had it been a different director, I think I would have rubbished the film and been like, no, that's dumb. Ridiculous. But like, but I was like, I think because I was like, oh, this doesn't feel like it. That when it did, it was sort of like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. that was my
waiting
major.
for it to happen, for something to happen.
Yeah.
And then when it did, it's still like, it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, I don't know whether I like this or not.
And it sucks because the movie could have engaged better with that idea. It could have like decided, okay, I'm going to have a bit of a discussion about this and about like the sort of the contrast between maybe the Tinseltown aspects of it and the like, you know, like the romanticizing of 60s Hollywood with this kind of extreme violence of the late 60s with the Mansons and all that stuff. But it doesn't decide to engage and like compare and contrast or do anything like that. It's just a straight up like, it's this movie for this amount of time and then it changes and now it's a different thing entirely.
It's almost like he just like looked for an excuse to make a movie about 60s Hollywood, and he's like, oh, the Manson murders occurred in the 60s, so let's let's
do that whole Inglourious Bastards thing or whatever, you know, the same sort of deal. And it's so irritating because he has the ability to do that. Like, as much as the memes get made about him and, you know, people not really overrate Quentin Tarantino, but like, you know, he's always in the discussion. Yeah. But he deserves to be because he's a very skilled director. And he could have engaged with that more and found a way to justify it, but it's not justified. It just feels like we're just going to put a bunch of violence in here and you're going to accept it because it's me. And I don't like that. Like, it almost felt disingenuous, which sucked because the rest of the film felt so genuine and heartfelt and mature. And that's probably the biggest thing. It's like, it's a movie that's simultaneously made by old man Quentin and like young shock jock, you know.
Well,
I think
that goes back to I think that goes back to the whole comment of it feeling like two movies, because okay, here's a question that I have for both of you. And I don't know the answer to this myself. But had he just had it, how do you think it would have come across had he not sort of like succumbed, if you will, to violence? If he had left violence out, do you think that would have been better, or like maybe a statement?
Personally might have enjoyed the film more, because like, to me it was just that it stepped its toes in the water, right? But it didn't dive in. And that kind of is what bothered me, because I felt like it should be one or the other. But instead it was like this movie about Hollywood and stuff, which was awesome, and then a completely different thing, which kind of didn't feel like it fit within that.
And then when it did dive in, it was ridiculously insane and gruesome.
Right.
And grotesque. Which just felt so strange.
I think if they'd left it out, I probably would have enjoyed the movie more, because I loved basically everything that led up to the moment. But then if he kind of gone further and it explored a lot more of the Mansons and a lot more of kind of what that event, what transpired there, and kind of, you know, went more into that, which I don't think was very.
No, they cut it super short, even.
Especially for people who don't know anything about the Manson murders, because I didn't know anything apart from the episode of The Dark Tourist where David covered it, and so that's kind of all I knew, and so people who didn't know would have. I feel like would have been confused and didn't understand what was going on. So I feel like that wasn't made prominent enough.
Because I know for a fact that there was a fair amount of walkouts.
Really?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
I can see
and
people
a lot of
doing
people,
that.
a lot of people said that they thought it was terrible. Like, they thought it was.
There's like
quite
really,
a bit
really
of bad.
Weird backlash to
which
it.
isn't
Like, walked out towards the end or in the middle.
I'm not sure. I just know that they walked out. Unfortunately, I don't know anymore.
I feel like this has been very therapeutic for you, Michael. Just having a time to discuss the movie.
It's just good to get it out. Like, honestly, because it's just such a fucking strange movie. It's so weird, and it's like so expensive, and it's got Leo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, and it's just this weird movie with no structure that decides to throw violence in your face for no reason. And I think the Manson murders part of it is actually extremely important to the story.
I think it's important, but it wasn't made important enough.
Yeah,
it wasn't obvious enough
it just ended up getting treated with a kind of silly paintbrush, which sucks because the rest of the movie feels like, you know, we're experiencing this fantasy, but we know eventually it has to come to an end. And then it gets treated with like a really silly kind of brush in the end, and it kind of delegitimizes that part of the film.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's still a good movie, and you should watch it.
Is that the only film that you wanted to talk about that you saw?
Yeah, it's the only film I wanted to talk about.
Nothing upcoming soon?
Anything that you want to see?
There's Ad Astra coming up with Brad Pitt as well, directed by James Gray, who has basically been a well-respected American director who has never had a big film. He did a movie called Lost City of Z a couple years ago, which got a little bit of traction, but this is his first big blockbuster movie that's going to be released everywhere kind of thing, because it's got Brad Pitt and it's got space and it's a big sci-fi epic and everything. But it looks really good. Maybe a bit classical, but everyone needs a good Hollywood big screen experience every once in a while. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it for me. Yeah, nice. I mostly just wanted to rant about the new Tarantino movie.
Yeah, fair enough.
Sweet as.
Yeah.
So my watched ones, one of which was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which we've already talked about. And so I'm going to talk about it more. And then I watched a bunch of like movies on Netflix, one of which was Roma. Finally saw Roma.
Oh, you watched Roma?
Yeah, I really liked it.
Cool.
It was just such a. I'm very late to that. This is what I mean. I'm always so late to the party.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was such a moving portrait.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's sort of. I want a slice of life, but not slice of life. If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
It felt more epic than that, hey?
Yeah.
Like it has a real presence to it.
Yeah.
Despite being.
Yeah. No. So I really enjoyed it. Other film that film.
Just remember, everyone. Roma lost to Green Book at the Oscars.
Yeah.
Continue.
The other film that I had, film, quotation marks, was Bandersnatch.
Oh,
was that the Black Mirror movie?
Yeah, the like interactive one.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. I really liked it. Just because it's like it hasn't been done before. You know what I mean? So it was really interesting to sort of see that. I haven't explored like the entirety of it because there's like ridiculous amount of endings, I believe.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I really
kind of reckon
it
they're lying
as well.
There's like 5 hours in total. It's about 5 hours in total.
Yeah. That's what I meant.
Of possibilities.
Yeah.
It doesn't like go out in like a tree. It's like if you die or something, you go back to where you were or something.
Yeah. And then moving on. So those are all the like watched. And then a thing that I did was I finished up the 30-day song challenge.
Cool.
So like every day I was posting on Instagram, like a sort like each prompt, like it was a prompt each day sort of deal.
Yeah.
And then you had to pick a song, which was really cool. And it was really interesting because when I started doing it, a bunch of my friends started doing it. So it was really interesting seeing what my mates had picked.
Yeah.
And a lot of time we were like picking like really similar songs.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And then the other thing that I did was the 30-day writing challenge, which was basically I didn't have any prompts. Like I like did a lot of like thing of it of like trying to find prompts.
Okay.
But I decided not to, and it was basically I was just trying to produce one thing, like one piece of writing each day. Failed abysmally. Only did like 15.
That's pretty
but
good though.
Yeah, it's not bad, eh?
Yeah. So I averaged like one every 2 days. So that was cool. Sort of getting back into writing, obviously being a writer. Trying to be a writer. So that was really cool. In terms of things that I want to watch, God, I don't know. The Breaking Bad movie's coming out. Like really soon.
El Camino.
It's like next week or something.
Is it on Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited,
see.
but I'm worried because, as I've mentioned before, Breaking Bad's like my favorite show. So I'm really interested to see how they continue that story. And I hope they don't fuck it up. But granted, it's Gilligan, so I feel like.
How long have they been wanting to make this film? Because I'm interested to know what it is. Is it like specifically just kind of for money kind of thing, or is it coming from like a genuine place?
Well,
like is this a continuation that people needed?
Yeah, I'm not. That's why
question.
I'm worried, because I'm worried because I thought the ending of Breaking Bad was so great.
Yeah.
Right. But and as well, because I know for a fact that Gilligan, when it came to the series, he basically ended it on 5 seasons on purpose. You know what I mean? Like he didn't. Yeah. Like he was like, we'll end it now. So yeah, I'm worried about that, but from what I saw of the trailer, did definitely intrigue me. So,
it looked alright, hey. And I mean, like, Aaron Paul's cool.
Yeah.
Aaron Paul's pretty cool.
Yeah, so that was one of the that's like the only thing. Well, there's a bunch of other stuff, but I can't think. So that's me done.
Well, you don't anticipate things, so.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. You don't anticipate.
I don't anticipate things. I just find out about them later, and I go, "Oh, I should have watched that." Whoops, and then I watch it, and then I enjoy. I'm weird. Deal with it.
Yeah, sweet as. That brings us to the end.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
That's it.
I guess that's the end.
And that's a rapidy-doo-dah on episode 2.
So yeah, feel free, team, to like, subscribe, and to give us all the love.
Give us a crunchy comment
on the social medias.
That wasn't crunchy. I don't know what kind of
sounded more like a
something raking inside.
It's quiet out there.
Saliva. Thing. Yeah.
All right.
And don't forget we're all on Letterboxd, aren't we? So
oh my god, we are.
Yeah.
That's where we probably post most of our stuff. So I'm letterboxd.com/therealclose.
I have no idea what I am. Am I just Michael Garman's Way No Spaces? I think I am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm Matt_5, I believe.
There we go.
Yeah, Matt 5.
And that's where you'll get all of our film opinions as soon as we write about them.
Yeah. I still haven't written a review of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, although I might now.
I basically
because
heard the review.
Yeah, but you know, but you can see why I wouldn't want to write a review, because it would be a rambling mess.
Yeah. I need to get back into reviews. Anyway, all right, that's about that. That's it. I've been
rambling
Matt.
Mess. Yeah. Michael.
And I've been Ben.
Goodbye.
See you later.